Okay, so good morning. So today's lesson is going to be on the function of the digestive system. We've got keywords: digestion, stomach, liver, intestines, and there's 3 questions for you to answer. The define digestion, define egestion, where does digestion start? So where in the digestive system does it start? So I'm going to press pause now and then we can go through the answers. Right, okay, so question 1, define digestion. So we should have had digestion is the breakdown of large insoluble molecules into small soluble molecules that can be easily absorbed. Okay, question 2 then. Define egestion. So what is egestion? So it's the removal of metabolic waste in the body. Okay, and then question 3, where does digestion start? So digestion starts in the mouth, okay, which we're going to start to look at this lesson. Okay, so on OneNote then, I've got for you, okay, a table, and you need to write down the function of each organ in the table and name any chemicals produced by each organ. So I'm going to go through it. You haven't got to copy everything down. I will highlight and go through it with you. Okay, so we've got the first organ, then we've got the mouth. Okay, and the mouth then is the beginning of the digestive system, and digestion starts here. We know that, it's gone through that in our starter. The smell of the food triggers the salivary glands in your mouth and they secrete saliva, and it contains an enzyme called amylase. So we're going to say that we have saliva and it contains an enzyme called amylase. Okay, and then the function then is mechanical digestion. Okay, essentially chewing the food to break it down. Okay. So it's easier for us to swallow. When it gets into our stomach, we are able to digest it. There's the first one. Then we're going to look at our esophagus. And as you can see, our esophagus is our long tube, okay, that connects our mouth to our stomach. There's a picture there for you. So in our esophagus, there's no chemical produced, okay, but it's a muscular tube, okay, and it connects and it carries food to the stomach, okay, and it does this by a series of contractions called peristalsis. Okay, so essentially you've got the long tube, and peristalsis then is when the muscles contract and it forces the food down into your stomach. Like you would know if you ever were doing a headstand, not that you would, and you ate food while doing a headstand and you swallowed, the food doesn't just fall back out your mouth from gravity. It's because of these contractions that forces food into your stomach and all the way through your digestive system. Then we've got our stomach, okay, which is here. My circles have moved slightly, so there's our stomach, okay, which we looked at last lesson. And our stomach contains hydrochloric acid, okay, and the hydrochloric acid will kill any bacteria. Okay, so any bacteria in your food, any bacteria which you swallow, okay. It also produces protease enzymes, and these are enzymes that break down protein, okay. And the purpose of it is to break down food into smaller pieces so we can break it down further. Okay, and it does it because it contracts, it churns. Think of it like a washing machine. It's constantly moving, constantly churning, so we can get every single bit of food in our stomach. Then we've got our liver. Okay, the liver has many functions. Okay, it processes food and it detoxifies the blood. Okay, but the main thing, it makes bile. it produces bile. And we looked at last lesson what bile does, and we know it emulsifies fats, okay, and it neutralizes our stomach acid, okay. And if you eat food too quickly, you get heartburn. That's because bile's not had time to neutralize stomach acid, and it's coming out of the stomach, and we get the heartburn there. The gallbladder then, which we looked at last lesson, gallbladder nice and easy, it stores excess bile. So any excess bile produced by the liver, any excess will go into the gallbladder, which is here, until it's needed. When it's needed, then it'll go through the bile duct in the blue, down then into the stomach. We've got our pancreas, probably one of the most important organ of our digestive system. Okay, and what it does, it produces, digestive enzymes. Okay, and these enzymes are carbohydrates, that breaks down carbohydrates. We have lipase, an enzyme, that breaks down fats. And we have a protease enzyme that breaks down proteins. We know it's an enzyme because the enzymes, they end in ASE. So if we're never ever sure of a word in an exam question, if it ends in ASE, it's more than likely an enzyme. Okay, so they're the three enzymes that are released from our pancreas. Our pancreas also, if we're looking at what our pancreas does, it also makes insulin. Okay, but we'll look at that at another time. So to produce three enzymes, carbohydrates. Our carbohydrate is also known as amylase. Okay, so if you see in a question or anything about amylase, amylase is a type of carbohydrate enzyme. Okay, so it's going to break down your carbs. Then we've got our small intestine. Okay, our small intestine produces enzymes like protease, amylase and lipase, okay, to help finish it off. Okay, in the small intestine, okay, digestion is completed. Okay, from the small intestine, nothing is digested. Okay, nothing else is broken down. It's finished here, it's completed. And the reason it's completed is because any nutrients are absorbed back into the body. Okay, so it absorbs the small soluble products back into the blood. Okay, so as they're being absorbed, like our glucose, any nutrients from our food being absorbed back in, that's why digestion is completed, because nothing else can be digested because it's been absorbed back at that point. Okay, then we have our large intestine, and it connects the small intestine to the rectum. The large intestine is a highly specialised organ that's responsible for producing waste. As stool passes through the large intestine, water is absorbed into the blood. So our large intestine is responsible for absorbing any water, and our small intestine is responsible for absorbing the nutrients, our food. Okay. Then our last one, we've got our rectum and our anus, which is here. Okay. So a rectum receives a stool from the large intestine. It lets the person know there is stool to be evacuated. So there's a sensor in the rectum, and it sends a message to your brain saying you need to go to the toilet. Okay, and then obviously the anus then is the last part of the digestive system tract, and it's where our stool comes out of. Okay, so for the anus, we could say it's the last part. Ooh, let's get the highlighter back. We could say it's the last part, and it's where excretion takes place, digestion takes place. Ooh, wrong one. Where we have digestion. Okay. Right, then we've got information there for you that's on OneNote. I'll read through it. I'm not going to go through the answers. You can do the answers for you. So it says there's a bit more you need to know about how the food moves through and is absorbed in the digestive system. Food is moved through the gut by peristalsis. We looked at that when I talked about the esophagus. It's the contractions to force the food through the digestive system. There's muscular tissue all the way along the passage that food passes through during digestion. Its job is to squeeze balls of food called mollusks through your gut, otherwise it would get clogged up with bits of old food. This squeezing action, which is waves of circular muscle contraction and relaxation, is called peristalsis. Okay, so 3 questions for you. I'm not going to go through it, but I will mark it when we look at your work. How does food move through the digestive system? What is peristalsis and why is it important? Then we have more information and then 5 more questions for you to answer. So I'll read through it again, then I would like you to answer the questions on OneNote. So it says, dissolved food and water are absorbed in the digestive system. Digestion produces soluble substances. We know soluble means it can dissolve. Okay, so subs can dissolve. These substances are absorbed into the small intestine. The inside of the small intestine is covered in millions and millions of tiny little projections called villi. So essentially what we're saying is that if the small intestine was straight, our small intestine has got loads of little villi. And what these do, they increase the surface area of our intestines. Because if we had a straight line, as our epithelium, only glucose can be absorbed through here. Whereas as we have villi, we have all this extra space where our nutrients can leave and go back into our bloodstream. Okay? The villi increase the surface area in a big way so that the soluble substances are quickly absorbed into the blood by diffusion. Villi contain blood vessels, so they have very good blood supply. The soluble substances are taken away in the blood. This helps maintain a steep diffusion gradient, which assists quick absorption. And very quickly then, diffusion, wrong pen, the movement of particles from high concentration to low concentration. Okay, so answer the 5 questions, give it a go, and then make sure you hand your work in. Thank you.